Hi, everybody. I'm Jen Johnson, and this is Thought by Thought Healing, where I talk about everything related to chronic pain and chronic symptoms and how to reverse them. I come at it from a Christian perspective, and so if that's important to you, then you're in the right place. Today, Jen Loeffler and I are doing the Christmas episode. So, Jen, thanks for being here. It's been a while. For those of you who have been watching for a while, Jen and I think I've done 3 together, and it's been way too long. So, how are you doing?
As good as can be expected.
Yes, especially considering that it's the holidays. Is that what you mean by that?
Uh-huh.
Well, and also before we started the video, you shared that you have a toilet in your bedroom, or you had a toilet in your bedroom, right?
Yes. So today was the first day of our remodel. It just turned out this was the time that the plumber was available and, everything lined up. So today's the day. And yes, there was a toilet in my bedroom.
Which is awesome and makes it even more impressive that you're here. Okay, so Jen and I thought it would be a good idea to just talk about the holidays and Christmas because if you're anything like us, the holidays are stressful and they're complicated. And I don't think I have ever had a client that doesn't come away from a holiday without some sort of symptom imperative or symptom just show up, whether it's a flare up or whatever. So we just wanted to talk about basically how her and I are preparing. And I actually really like that we're doing this because it kind of forced me to do some of that work today. And I know that I still have
Hmm.
more, but yeah. So Jen, why don't you just start us off and what are your thoughts about like going into the holidays? What are like the things that are taking up the most space in your mind?
Well, I mean, I'm trying to let the Lord direct what's in my mind, but definitely I've, had all of the thoughts of can I meet all the expectations?
Mhm.
You Gift giving can be tricky. I know I've been stymied by just, all these questions of is are these people going to like what I'm getting? You know, uh, is it going to communicate what I want it to communicate? Can I find it cheaper somewhere else? Do I have time to go do that? I mean, there's just so much just wrapped around gift giving. Um, but also, I just really want to make sure that I am focused on the things that really matter. I have adult children that, I don't know if they're going to be here for Christmas next year. They may be with a significant other. And
Yeah.
so I think that's definitely on my mind that I want to just be available to them, however that makes sense. Um, and then I was just reading today, I think you have the Bible verse right there in Colossians, the very last verse in Colossians. It was Paul talking, and he was saying the reason that he could do what he did as far as his ministry is that he had the power of God giving him that energy. And the one of the words there actually means superhuman power or superhuman energy. It wasn't his own energy that he was depending on. And so that was something that just really stood out to me today, that's what I want to do. I want to depend on the Lord's energy to give me his peace, his comfort, his ideas as far as what is important. Um, so those are the things that I've been trying to put forward.
Yeah. Um, yeah, Jen shared that verse with me before we started this, and I was really encouraged and maybe convicted by it, just of using that approach of this is I don't want this season to be of my own energy. And um, because when it comes down to my own energy, it turns into those personality traits that we know are not helpful. And it's the people pleasing and the perfection and the ultra efficiency and those things that really start to take over my brain space and quickly turn into to fear. So
Right.
I really like that verse. And
Mhm.
also you talking about the gift giving, I just started earlier on, I just started writing like some of the things that I know I need to do some work around before Christmas. And one of them for me is gift giving. I don't know where it started, but there is an anxiety that I have around giving a gift and it
Mm.
not being the right gift. And
Mhm.
and that person not liking it, and that perfectionism in me really can well up, and in the past has been um, even capable of giving me symptoms. So trying to put my
Mhm.
brain in that mind space of I'm giving out of love. Um,
Right.
and if it's not the right gift, then that's all right.
Yeah.
End of subject. That reminds me.
Right.
Can you Okay, so Jen and I both have on like Christmas, our version of what Christmas is. And so I've got, sequins, which I know last week I did a video in sequins, and just for everybody to know, I only have two shirts with sequins, and now I've worn them both. S- So,
I think it
but
looks beautiful.
thank you.
And I went with the cheesy version. So this is my little shirt that says, oh shoot, can you see it?
Yes, but it
Oh
doesn't say,
snap.
oh shoot, it says, oh snap.
Oh snap.
And okay, why, why is oh snap so important? Because we know it is.
Right. Well, I think that's another thing that definitely I wanted to bring up is just I really want to bring a lightness to the holidays. I know in the past I've just been so concerned about every little detail, and that adds stress, not only stress for my body and for me, but for my family. You know, they were dealing with my stress.
Mhm.
And so this to me is just like a reminder that, we can be light about things. We don't, if we make a mistake, we learn from that mistake and we move on. It's not something that's going to ruin the holidays.
Yeah. At least we don't have to let it.
Right.
Yeah, one of the things that I wrote down was expectations. And people
Hmm.
have a lot of expectations for just things that are going to happen, how you show up, whether you put your all in or not. And I've really given myself freedom to, and I like what you said of asking the Lord, like, okay, what do you want my priorities to be this year? And
Right.
focusing on those, and the rest of them, it's okay if I show up with 35%. It's okay if I don't put my all into everything, because it's just not possible to make it through these holidays, giving your all and
Right.
staying healthy.
Right.
You can give your all, which I did for many years, and I also
Same.
had chronic pain for many years.
Hmm.
So I feel like we're almost planning for the oh snap. Bummer. Didn't happen. That's
Yeah.
just
And
moving along.
it's probably not the end of the world. Um, you know, and it is something that we can move on from, we can learn from if it really is something that is important.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to ruin our holidays. It doesn't have to take our peace. And
Yeah.
um, and I think we can apply that even to maybe family relations. That maybe uh, I upset somebody, um, but I can still have peace. I can still rely on the Lord to give me what I need and make it right with that person. But I don't need to go into it afraid that I'm going to upset that person.
Yeah.
I think that is a big change for me ever since I was working with you, is just really being able to, um, for one, not take everything so personally, but also to not go into a situation expecting the worst. You know,
Mm.
going in saying, if the worst happens, I have tools, I know what to do, but I don't have to expect the worst.
Yeah, that's good. I think for me, a bit of that is knowing, and I did some work here looking at what are some of these personality traits that for me are going to my old ways of being that are kind of rear their head. And you're talking about kind of how I would call it for myself, over responsibility. Like it's my
Yes.
responsibility to be the one that makes sure everybody's having fun, everybody's
Hmm.
included, people got what they wanted, you know, uh, nobody's upset. And that responsibility to make sure everybody's happy is not sustainable nor right. They are responsible for their own mental placement, if you will.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Lots of freedom to let some of that go, the oh snap, and
Amen.
just show up and be there, right? Be there, be
Right.
me, be in the energy that God has given me, and not grounded in those personality traits that yeah, that hurt us so much and are not grounded in him. Yeah.
Right.
What are some of the tools you're using to prepare yourself? Like, are you just thinking about it, or
Well, I found myself today, actually, this was about the remodel, but I found myself today just kind of writing out some of the thoughts and the fears that I was having, but then also being able to counter that with why that isn't such a big deal or why that isn't something that I need to, um, be afraid of or worried about. And so I found myself saying yes, pause, and that was something that you had mentioned a little while back, and I just really like that because it's acknowledging, yes, that thing could happen or that thing, could be scary, but and here's the truth, and I'm going to get through it, and I have the tools I need so that I don't need to let that cause anxiousness in me. So
yeah,
that's definitely one of the tools
yeah,
and one of the, just one of those ways of counteracting those fears.
yep. Yeah, the writing is super helpful. Another thing I started to do today was just using that visualization tool and putting myself in places visually where I know that I'm going to be for Christmas
Mhm.
during
Mhm.
the holidays over a span of a week, and and feel myself, picture myself responding in the way that God would have me to respond instead of in the fear patterns that my brain used to go to. So the writing is
Sure.
definitely I think that's the first one I go to, and then maybe the visualizing is my second favorite one.
Right, right. And I think sometimes, especially Christians, are afraid to say what we're afraid of or to say that we're angry about something
Mm,
because I think that we're afraid we're going to, stay there or, enact something. But I believe if you can acknowledge it and then say, but God said, or I know that He's given me the tools that I need, then I think it's okay to acknowledge those things that either you're afraid of or um, sad about, or whatever negative emotion. I think as believers sometimes we're afraid to express those things, but I think that's also what causes symptoms in our bodies.
mm,
So
yeah.
I really like one of the posts you put this week about what your face shows. If it doesn't match what's on the inside, then there's probably some conflict and potentially some symptoms. That really resonated with me.
Yeah, I think we often laugh when we're hurt,
Hmm.
and we make jokes when we're angry, and we use sarcasm, and just all these ways of covering up, because it's, well, first of all, sometimes it's not appropriate. Like if we're mad, we don't want to show up to Christmas throwing
Right.
fists.
Right.
or swearing at people. Um, but
But in our quiet time, we can certainly bring those things up.
yeah, and as a way of life, I think the people who are close to us, hopefully it is safe to share like I'm sad right now or I'm mad or
Mm,
but like you were saying, the most important part, yes, is taking that in the quiet time to the Lord and resolving that divided mind and body of emotion and how we're presenting or the facade we're putting on. And you're right, Christmas time is like a quote unquote awesome time for us to do that because we are at parties and we are at get-togethers and wanting to have a good time because
right.
it is. Yeah.
I know. I think I've certainly walked in that kind of that I don't know, just kind of a chasm of I'm a believer, I'm excited about Christmas, and then I'm not excited about Christmas. Like
Yeah.
there's so many other things that kind of choke out the joy. And I was even thinking about, Christmas carols. What an amazing thing. We hear the word of God being sung, right? But I used to kind of cringe when it was before Thanksgiving and I'm hearing Christmas songs or or just thinking it's wonderful at the beginning, but I know that people are going to get tired of them. And I don't know, that just makes me a little bit sad that by the time Christmas actually comes, maybe they're not going to mean as much because they've heard these songs so many times.
That's
So
interesting.
yeah, I think as a believer, I've felt a little bit of shame for that because it's like I should be so glad that it's Christmas.
Mm,
This is what our beliefs are all about, and yet at the same time, there's so much that can choke out that joy that
mm,
we have to, we really have to be mindful and purposeful about what we choose to, focus on.
yeah. Yeah. Yes. Directing our attention. And that again, you brought up basically the idea of yes and somewhere in there and it's so often that we have complex emotions where we'll feel this thing and we'll be tempted to leave a situation and say I felt this way during it and in reality um, we can feel three things at the same time and each one of them deserves your attention and God's truth applied to it. And
Right.
definitely Christmas is one of those where we're going to walk into family situations where, I mean, and I'm speaking for the majority of everybody listening or watching,
Mhm.
that some people will leave angry, ashamed, and having had a good time, like all three of those things, and and afraid and having people pleased, but also feeling loved. Like
Right.
there's so many complex emotions that come around these times that it's really I find it really valuable to look at them all because sometimes one can overshadow the other if you don't acknowledge kind of all of them and the place they have in your story.
Mm, right.
Which, yeah, another thing I've done in preparing for the holidays this year is I think anytime we're around family that we love, there is
Mhm.
still processing that has happened. Um,
Sure.
there are I'm going to just say like patterns or things that we've grown in, and then maybe have learned sometimes some of these things don't work for us. And here we go back to Christmas, and there's all these patterns that have been triggering for us, or we've learned that maybe don't serve us as well anymore. And that can be triggering and that can be the brain can process a lot. So I've just
Mhm.
been practicing kind of allowing my brain to process. And when our brains are processing a lot, it does mean there's stress, there's change. And change is stressful, whether it's good or bad. And basically
True.
just preparing myself to be kind to my brain. I know for me that when my brain is carrying a lot and working a lot, sometimes it doesn't sleep as well. And
Mhm.
and so I'm just allowing my brain, I'm not expecting it, but I am allowing that if if it needs to process at night, that's all right. We can stay up and process, and I don't
Right.
have to push myself to go quickly through the holidays without doing some of the work that I know that is part of, remaining in a healed state, if you will. So,
Right. Right.
I guess just preparing to be gracious with the way my
Yourself.
brain responds to
Yeah.
what happens
Well,
or
and I know we've talked about this before, but even if we have symptoms, we can allow that to be a reason to go to the Lord and say, okay,
yeah.
think I need to give some stuff up, I need to lay this down. I need to lay it out before you, Lord, and leave it for you to handle. Um yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we hear people all the time saying once you start to understand mind body syndrome, you become grateful for the tiny little flare-ups or the big flare-ups because
Mhm.
it is an indication that we get to go and take this thing to God and come back with like what you're talking about, his energy, and
Right.
instead of my raw emotions. Sometimes he gives me a gift in exchange for what I'm feeling.
Right. Right. And I think if we can look at that with curiosity, that's that kind of curiosity and lightness,
Mhm.
then um it's not the same. It doesn't come out the same way, if I'm looking at the symptoms and I'm more saying, I wonder what that's about. That's way different than saying, oh great, I have this symptom again, what am I going to do? um have I just, gone 10 steps backward? What's wrong with me? um there's just such a different energy around when we can just say, that's interesting, what's that about?
Yeah, absolutely. Totally powerful, that curiosity piece.
Yeah.
I'm also just thinking a little bit about prayer and just as we go into the holiday season, um,
Hmm.
that prayer piece and it not being like a prayer of God, I hope things go perfect, but just a prayer that, Lord, I would remember who you are
Yeah.
and remember to be present in your energy that you're talking about or your the Lord's power instead of my own and just kind of having
Yeah.
that prayerful mindset instead of the do be fulfill everybody's expectations and needs and instead bring it back down to simple I'm in him
Right.
and whatever he calls me to that's where I'll be.
You did like the perfect circle right back to where we started. That was awesome.
That's true. That is where we started, huh? Well, maybe we should just end the video then. Do you have anything else that on
I
your like
I
list of
think
things
we
that you
covered it.
I had one other thing that I just saw that I wrote down, and that was I did do a quick scan, thinking ahead as to what was going to be different and what I might need to face this year that I haven't ever had to face. Um, and that can kind of be helpful just to think ahead sometimes and be like, what is and I guess you talked about this idea, but for me, I know Christmas is a little bit different this year. My siblings won't be there for the first time for Christmas
mm,
Day.
hmm
Christmas Eve they will, but and so there is that's going to be a little bit different for me.
hmm
And so I'm planning to allow myself to feel because as we know, suppressing and pretending like everything's all right is um, it doesn't work. It's just a denial of what you're actually feeling. And
Right.
so for me, I'm doing a little bit of emotional prep of like, yeah, it's okay if I have complex feelings this year.
Yeah.
Um, and I do want to just acknowledge too that for people who are listening, um, especially people who don't have a big family gathering,
hmm
it's still, I think that Christmas can be really an opportunity to make it about you and Jesus, which is really what it's about, anyways. And while at the same time acknowledging all feelings that come with that, there,
Right.
there is, I think we do have an opportunity. And as you start to heal from chronic pain, you start to realize you have more power to create beautiful things in your life
Mhm.
um, through simplicity and I guess making Christmas. How can you make Christmas this year special between you and God? What kind of novelty or different experiences can be um, part of Christmas to make it special? Does that make
I love
sense?
that. I love that. Yeah, absolutely makes sense.
Yeah.
Good
So
reminder.
yeah. Okay, so that's our I don't know, I was thinking about naming this like Christmas and chronic pain or the chaos of Christmas and pain or whatever, but do take a little time to prepare your brain and use the tools that you have learned about, the writing and like Jen mentioned, using curiosity and kindness towards your symptoms if they do show up. Just
Mhm.
really taking on a different perspective that can help to calm down those symptoms in that way. And then visualizing is another one. I think those are the kind of the three tools that we really talked about today. So
Yeah, good
yeah,
stuff.
yep. Okay. Well, on that note, we'll say let's on the count of three. Let's say Merry Christmas. 1, 2, 3. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
You were 1 second behind me.
Oh, shoot.
Okay, that's a perfect opportunity to say, "Oh snap."
Yes.
There's your shirt. Okay, guys. Yes, but Merry Christmas, and we will see you guys later. Have a great week, and yeah, talk to you later. Bye.